What's up, everyone? This is Coach Gino, and this is the 10th Planet Daily City podcast. We are here with our first episode today. So, we're going to be using this podcast to give you announcements for the Academy and give you updates on combat sports that we are following. And basically, this channel is going to be for my 10th Planet Daily City students. But again, everyone is welcome to jump in, leave comments, and engage with us on this podcast. We want to make this available for the whole community, all the fans of combat sports. So we're going to jump into this with just a quick introduction about me and what we're going to do here on this podcast. Again, my name is Gino. My students call me Coach. I don't care what you guys call me, but I am the head coach and owner for 10th Planet Daily City. And for those who don't know what 10th Planet is, 10th Planet is a jiu-jitsu association founded by Eddie Bravo. I am a black belt under Eddie, and I also teach Muay Thai classes, MMA classes over at 10th Planet. And yeah, my goal for this, again, is to give you guys announcements here and give you guys a channel you can follow so that you guys can see what's going on at the gym. Again, going back to the classes and the stuff that I teach at the gym, I focus primarily on jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. My classes come with, a level of skill that I've had and attained over the years. So I try to bring all my knowledge to my classes and my students, and I try to provide everyone with the information I feel will be helpful for their development in martial arts. So if you guys have questions about anything, please leave them again for us, and we will try to answer them accordingly and try to make sure everyone gets good content for them to learn from and to have fun with. So a little bit more about my background. Again, I started martial arts when I was 5 years old. I started with Shotokan Karate over here in the Bay Area. So I am originally from Daly City. And again, I started with karate at age 5 at my local academy, Amas Karate. And that was when I was 5, so that was like 95. After I did karate for about 6 years, I got my purple belt, and then I stopped the karate practice. I got bored of the practice, unfortunately. And later on, I picked up Muay Thai. And my first Muay Thai academy was at the Fairtex Academy in San Francisco. And the Fairtex Academy in San Francisco at the Hawthorne location was my first introduction to full contact martial arts. And it was really a huge eye-opener for me and really started and ignited my passion for full contact combat sports. I was seeing guys train there, obviously the big names, Gilbert Melendez, Jake Shields, Johnson and Ganyao, Fairtex, even Hoist Gracie was there when he was training for his fight against Matt Hughes. I remember those early days and really influenced me to continue training combat sports and really inspired me to continue learning. So later on, I moved to Los Angeles for college in 2009, and I was continued practicing Muay Thai. I was training over at the Legends Academy under Chris Riley with Muay Thai. And I also coincidentally met Eddie Bravo there. And Eddie Bravo was teaching jiu-jitsu classes at the same location. And I introduced myself after seeing his class and really getting intrigued into what he was teaching. Eddie was fortunate enough to let me train with him as well. And, the rest is kind of history. I ended up getting with Eddie, kept training the 10th Planet system, and Eddie eventually awarded me my black belt in 2020. So during that time, when I was with Eddie, I was able to get my blue belt under him. And then after a few years, I moved back home to Northern California, but not to my hometown of Daly City. I moved back to Santa Rosa temporarily. I had an opportunity there to move and kind of work with that community for a little bit of time. My sister actually moved there, and I wanted to help her settle in. And coincidentally there, I met Dave Terrell and the NorCal Fighting Alliance. And, Dave and all the guys at NorCal, them being a part of that community, that early day of the Fairtex community. Dave was actually one of the sponsored Fairtex fighters, and Dave Terrell, obviously a legend, fought Evan Tanner and for the middleweight championship, and was a beast, a phenom, never got scored on in his professional jiu-jitsu career, one of the legends in Northern California. I was super fortunate to move up to Santa Rosa and train with him for another 3 years, and Dave really stepped my level and my game up. During my time when I was training with Dave in the NorCal team, I would also come back on weekends, train with Denny Prokopos, the first 10th panel black belt, and Denny was able to give me my my purple and brown belt. So, it was a lot of years of working with a lot of different teams and as far as coaching styles, and I really developed my game a lot because I was able to cross train and work with a lot of different high level grapplers and martial artists. And, later down the line, we started working into opening up the 10th Planet Daly City location. And eventually I was able to open up that 10th Planet Daly City location with Eddie Bravo's blessing. And Eddie was able to give me my black belt, like I said, in 2020. And, we are here today. And now the team has grown. It's 2022, and the team has grown, and we're pretty much almost 5 years in. And we've survived the pandemic. We've been able to be thriving and kicking today, and I'm really fortunate to be able to be here and still be standing and doing this full time as a living. And I'm really just super grateful for everyone, and I really want to kind of share my knowledge here on this channel so that folks who want to hear more about stuff on their own time, and so I can provide more information to those who need it. That is my goal, and that is my plan for this channel and for this page. So, a little bit about 10th Planet Daly City. 10th Planet Daly City was founded in 2018. Originally, the location is a karate studio, Ralph Castro's Kempo Karate Studio. And this studio has been around since the late 70s, been around there for decades. And in Daly City, it's a landmark. You'll see it driving by on the 280. You'll see it easily. It says Ralph Castro's Karate on the building. And the location has been teaching martial arts for many, many decades. I came in to the 2018 originally as a boxing coach and to help with assisting boxing classes that they had there. Eventually, I made a good relationship with the owner, and we ended up opening our 10th Planet affiliation with them, started teaching jiu-jitsu classes a couple times a week. And, with that, we began growing slowly. We started adding Muay Thai classes. We started adding more classes to the schedule. And eventually down the line, I was able to quit my full-time job doing security and ended up working for the gym and just teaching classes full-time, running the gym, and growing the place to where it is today. I mean, we started a long time ago with only a small little square mat, and we eventually almost quadrupled the size. I don't even know exactly the amount of space we've been able to expand, but we've expanded quite a bit in the few years we've been open. And yeah, the location is still there, teaching Shaolin Kempo, also capoeira classes led by Capoeira Daly City, Marco. And we provide a lot to the community. We tried to. We were offering kids classes, women's classes, beginners classes, advanced classes, and our goal is just to help create the martial arts community. Make a stronger martial arts community, I should say. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to train, everyone is able to learn self-defense, and the things that they'll need to protect themselves in real situations and real life situations, along with those who want to compete for sports and athletics, those who want to fight and those who want to take on jiu-jitsu matches, whatever the case may be. We're just here to help you guys out. If you guys are interested in training and signing up for memberships, go to 10pdc.com. You will find our full class schedule there. You will find our location, our address. Again, we are located in Daly City, and we will be happy to teach all of you who are interested in training with us. So come on down and join us for a class. And with that, we want to also be able to provide on this channel updated news on combat sports. So since it is Wednesday, the 26th of October, 2022, we will talk about the previous weekend's UFC fights. And man, UFC 280 was a wild event. And I think a lot of us are going to be very, very excited to talk about this for many, many years to come because this night was a crazy night of fights. And the UFC is definitely in the middle of a change in a sense, I feel, and with more so about the judging and about the criteria for um, fights. So this is something that I am hoping to discuss and hopefully see the changes later down the line on it. We're talking mostly in regards to the Sean O'Malley and Peter Yan fight. Before we go into that one, definitely want to talk about the Dariush fight with the Gamrot. So on this podcast, I'll only talk about the fights I watched, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch Gamrot and Dariush too closely. I was watching it, but I saw that Dariush got a knockdown. I saw the really good scrambles with the jiu-jitsu, and I was really impressed. Dariush has been up there as a contender for many, many years, and I'm excited to see him progress. I know he was originally supposed to fight the now current champ, Islam Makhachev, but that fight fell through. And I would be really interested to see how that fight plays out. Dariush is a great grappler, and he's a very, very creative and like pretty intense striker. He hits hard, he gets hit, and he's still in there in the fight the whole time. You can never count this dude out. So super excited to see that. And Dariush, again, put on a great fight from what it looked like, and I was really excited to see him get the win because I know he was definitely watching that main event closely to see who was going to get that belt. And he's definitely up there as a contender. So all the best to Dariush. Along with that fight, we're going to move on to the Peter Yan and the O'Malley fight. Probably the most controversial fight of the evening. And man, the main issue with this fight, it comes down to the judging and what the judges are looking at for the criteria to win. And that's the thing that a lot of us are having issues with. We don't know what these judges were looking at, why they scored it a certain way. But the basic breakdown went like this. I mean, first round, it was close. A lot of people gave it to O'Malley. I mean, I would also give that first round to O'Malley. That second round, I would give it to Yan. And definitely, Yan, I felt, dominated the fight more. He was able to control. He got them takedowns. And then the round three happened. Round three was the toughest one for a lot of folks to understand the judges. None of the judges scored round three for Yan. And the basic difference that we saw in this fight was the damage versus the control. In the third round, Sean O'Malley cuts Peter Yan with a big knee, splits him open, and he's leaking. Mark, was that round two or round three? It was round three, or he got split open, right? I forget. Okay. Well, I think it's round three. I think it's round three he gets cut. And with round three, I believe that O'Malley cut him, and then Yan hurt him back. And even before that cut, they both hurt each other with big shots. They rocked each other. They hurt each other. And, it was going back and forth. Yan gets cut, and then they go back again into this kind of back and forth. Yan is rocking O'Malley. O'Malley's rocking Yan. They're stumbling. Yan, it goes pretty even, and then O'Malley throws a head kick, a really nasty head kick, and then Yan shoots immediately, goes in for the takedown. So after that, it looked like Yan got the takedown a couple more times and was able to dominate the control time, and he got more takedowns on him. So what the issue comes down to is that third round is, Yan getting cut definitely made a significant impact on the judge's perspective. But the issue is most of the time they score takedowns very heavily. So the issue is we don't know what they're scoring more, the takedown control time or the damage on the cut. And unfortunately, for Yan, most of the time they would score that fight for Yan. Most UFC fights we've seen in the past scores the takedowns heavily and the control time heavily. But the damage was definitely even except for that cut that he caught. And that, again, the blood leaking everywhere, that's definitely a case for us to say, hey, Sean could have won that third round. But again, the consistency we've seen in the past with the UFC events is that Jan would win that fight in most other judges' perspectives, and for most of the community's perspective, because all of us have been watching the sport. I mean, most of us have been watching the sport for years, and all of us saw that Jan hit the criteria needed to get the win, but O'Malley got the win. So this is a controversy that we see, and this is an issue that a lot of us are having trouble digesting. After watching back the fight a second time and a third time, I noticed that, yeah, it was more competitive than I originally thought. Jan definitely got the control time, but he wasn't able to do too much damage to O'Malley when he did control him. And O'Malley was getting a lot of quick shots. You know, watching a fight for the first time, it's hard to really comprehend everything that's going on. After the second, third time, you can slow things down and you can really dissect it. So I don't blame the judges for the decision they made, but I do wish that the criteria, again, was more clear for them. I mean, we need to vet these judges better and give them a layout of what we're looking for to, classify a win. You know, if there's no real process to understand how fighting should be judged, we're just going to be going off subjective opinions. That's not really going to be consistent, and we're going to have events like this happen. So again, whether you score damage or whether you score control more, you can look at the fight either way for who won. But really, what it comes down to is, what do these fighters need to do to get the win? These fighters, this is their livelihood. This is what they need to get a paycheck. If we're stealing these wins away from the fighters who put the work in to win and are doing the strategy, following the strategy that is the more likely case to get the W, then we need to be consistent with that. These fighters, they put so much work in, they put the time in to do this, and they deserve to have that understanding of what they need to do to win. So with that, again, leave your comments down if you have any other thoughts about this fight and what you think. We'd love to address the comments and concerns of folks and help us to all better understand this sport better and develop the sport better. Did you find it, Mark?
Yeah, it looks like the cut was in the third round.
It was in the third round. So
Yeah.
a lot of action in that third round. And again, Mark, I think he's looking at the tape back now, and you can see that cut was pretty significant. It was leaking real like bad in that third round. And I mean, a beautiful knee by O'Malley split the guard right open. I mean, Jan had that tight shell and then just went right through his guard and got that knee. So really impressive performance by O'Malley.
Yeah, it does look like Jan doesn't like wobble in a sense. He looks like he's still there, but
just slices him, right?
Yeah,
but then you notice Jan
nice
will come back right away with a big, what was it? A big left hand or a big overhand right? Whatever the case may be, O'Malley gets rocked right after that, and then they go back and forth. Man, watch that fight. Tell me what you thought in the comments. So that's enough about O'Malley. Mark, did I miss anything? No, enough about O'Malley and Jan, I think. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go on to the co-main event of the evening. Oh, man. Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. And I'll be honest, I was hoping Aljamain would hurt TJ bad. I really get upset when I think about TJ getting that title shot again. After what happened with his, steroid, whatever the PED issue that he had, he got popped for that. I don't appreciate him coming back and getting that title shot. With issues like this, it's one of those things that, yeah, you never can fully comprehend unless you're the person who is going through that experience. But just the excuse that I heard just didn't seem valid. I mean, TJ was saying he used PEDs because if not, he wouldn't be able to make it to the fight. If that's the case, don't make it to the fight. I mean, just don't go in there and don't try to get yourself to perform at a level that's just not fair. I mean, if we're here talking about fighting, this is gambling with someone's life. You could literally kill someone in this sport, and it's something where you cannot take that lightly. So if you're going in trying to just get an advantage that's not fair, then I feel like that's got to be warranted for some more punishment. And I don't know, again, what the discussion was with him in the UFC and how they went about it. But coming back after that, I mean, it's definitely got an asterisk on his record. I mean, I love TJ's style, his abilities. He's been a great fighter in the past. I love watching his fights, but I just cannot respect that he's a cheater and a straight cheater.
Also, his performance against Sandhagen that was another decision with the judges that it's like
That's true.
damage versus grappling.
That's true. That's true. That one, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get to watch that one as thorough. I have to watch that. That's one of the fights that you should watch a second time. But yeah, definitely, like with Sanhagen and with Dillashaw, that fight was a freaking battle. But
Yeah.
with those fights, you never know what the judges are seeing. You never know. And this fight that we're talking about with Sterling, this is not a decision, which was so happy about. So first round, TJ comes out, moves around, looks pretty good, but then something happens during the takedown, and TJ looks like he dislocates his shoulder. And then Aljamain's on top, just whooping him, just throwing the punches, beating him down. And, honestly, I'm loving it. I'm like, go ahead, get him. And I'm just like really happy to see that, Aljo was able to get on him and really put the hurt on him. So no finish in the first, but they got close. Aljo was beating him up and going for the choke, but you can see something was wrong with TJ during the break and during the rest time. TJ's in the corner and looks like his coach pops back in his shoulder that was dislocated, and he's back to kind of like rolling it out and moving. The doctor checks him and he lets him go again. So that was wild.
Yeah, it seems like it happens all the time in training, probably. Like
Yeah, I mean,
Dwayne just put it back in.
from what they said, it looked like TJ had that injury going in, and he kind of disclosed it to everyone that he's got that shoulder injury. So, regardless of the situation, when you're going in and, if you're going in compromised like that, kind of shows that you're just going in to get that fight paycheck. If you're going in with that hurt shoulder, you really need that cash. You really need to make that pay. So, what can you do? I mean, he came in and he tried to fight with that, but, definitely not a good idea to fight someone like Aljo with a compromised shoulder. So, second round comes, kind of the same thing. Aljo goes in for that takedown. I mean, just kind of beats TJ down repetitively, and just doesn't get the finish, doesn't get the choke. TJ, I mean, he's a warrior. Can't deny he's a warrior. He stayed in there and fucking defended. But, man, he ended up getting caught with some big shots, and the ref had to stop it. It was no debate, no early stoppage. This definitely was Aljo's win, and he just put the hurt on TJ for a good 2 rounds. And it was kind of satisfying to see.
Yeah, the size difference, too, was insane.
That's crazy. Yeah, Aljo is
I've seen
impressive. You see his picture, his weigh-in, his weigh-in photo versus his fight day photo. He looks swole, and then his normal everyday photo. I think it's like a difference of 20 pounds each. Like he'll weigh in at 35, he'll fight at like 50 or something like that, and he walks around like 175 or something like that. So Aljo, man, scary dude at 135. And you say what you will about Aljo, about all that. He's a skilled martial artist. He's got a lot of tools in his belt, and he can really keep that belt for a while if he sticks with his strategy and his game plan. He's a very, very tough fight for anyone in this division. And, with his skills, I see him putting on tough fights for, a long time. Okay, so let's finally move on to the last fight, the main event. Okay, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. And my goodness, what a fight. What a fight. Islam goes in and dominates. It is really impressive to see. Islam is one of those phenoms that we haven't seen in a while, and he surprised everyone. I think that when we were watching the fight, most folks were picking Oliveira, and we've seen Oliveira for many years. Oliveira has been a fan favorite for a long time, and everyone loves the guy. The champion had a name. It was Charles Oliveira. This guy was killing it. He was. I kind of knew that he had that championship potential right after Khabib left, and I was like, man, that's the guy who's going to take it, and he did. And obviously, he's gone through the controversy of the last fight, not making that weight by the 0.5, and he was the uncrowned champion. But I considered him the champion coming in this fight. I don't think anyone else denied that as well. But Islam came in with a fury, came in to prove a point. Now, the first round begins, and Islam is standing up, moving around. And Charles, obviously, Charles comes around with a jumping kick, right, in the beginning. Mark, I think that's the first strike. Oliveira comes out with a jumping kick or something like that, right? And then Makhachev hits him once he's in range. He hits him with a hard left, and like you can tell, it hurts Charles. He even cuts him. That first punch cuts Oliveira on the nose, and from there we start to see a different Oliveira backing up a little bit. He definitely got the respect from that first shot, feeling that power. And Makhachev kept it real simple. It wasn't no fancy jumping attacks. It wasn't like no spinning or spinning strikes or anything. He kept it simple, was throwing hands. He got into that close range. And then when the time came for the clinch, surprisingly, Oliveira drops it into guard. And that's something that I definitely feel was a little bit of the ego coming into play. Oliveira wanted to prove that he could hang on the ground with Islam, and so he pulls guard. And I was amazed at that confidence that he had, that recklessness, but wasn't the greatest decision. Islam was on top, and he was dominating on top, and he was really, putting a lot of pressure on Oliveira. So in the fight, really, it's Makhachev in the first round, kind of like dominating, and he's like really hurting Oliveira in moments. So we don't see too much coming from Oliveira offensively on the other side. I think he tried to do a triangle attempt and tried to throw the legs up, but Makhachev was so strong inside that triangle. He defended properly, put his other hand into the triangle so that he had both arms in instead of one, and he survived that. That was one of the moments that I thought Oliveira was going to capitalize on, but unfortunately, Makhachev is just so good when it comes to that top pressure and that top game when they get to the ground. And then it gets into the second round after the first round is pretty much Makhachev's round. And Oliveira, again, is not as reckless, and he's not pressuring as much as he used to. Oliveira is one of those guys that will just walk you down, front kick, and really try to take the fight to you. I think that first shot from Islam really stunned him, and then it made him hesitant to continue that pressure. Along with it, we didn't see too many front kicks from Oliveira because I think also he was concerned about going back to the ground with Islam. You don't want to throw front kicks to a wrestler. They'll catch that leg and they'll take you down. So that's an issue we got to watch out for whenever you're with someone in a high-level wrestling game like Islam. So, man, once that fight does eventually get to the ground, Mark, remind me, do you remember how it gets to the ground on the second?
Is it the flying knee?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so the flying knee, that was a big issue. That, man, I was talking to Sweet T Logan, one of my fighters at the gym, and he was telling me like, man, he got so upset with that flying knee. Because for me, I understood it. Oliveira was trying to get a big shot, and he was, had he landed that, it would have been a big change of events. I think if he had landed that knee, I think he would have got some momentum building. But Makhachev dodges that knee, just steps back, and then hits him with a right hook, I believe. Hits him with a hard right hook, and then drops him. And then, man, after that, he stays on top. He finds his way into the half guard position, but once he's in that half guard, he goes right away for that head and arm choke, and you can see that thing is tight right away. And here I am thinking, okay, Oliveira is good. It's not a great lock to be in. I think he can escape it though. But once Islam gets past that half guard, Oliveira taps immediately, which goes to show you how strong Islam is with that head and arm choke. And my goodness, like he dominated this fight surprisingly, and I think everyone was put on notice how good Islam Makhachev is. And man, I would love to see that rematch. I think Oliveira, if he came back with a better strategy, kind of like took his time a little bit more. Oliveira is one of those wild guns in the UFC. You never know what he's going to do. He's always putting himself in harm's way. And that was the wrong strategy against a guy like Islam. You do not want to put yourself in harm's way with Islam Makhachev because he will capitalize on it. He will finish the fight. And that is, again, a testament to him and his team. And, Khabib obviously training him for many years and being the champion he was. That is something that you can never downplay. Everyone, heard how good he was, but they didn't know how good he was. Now everyone knows how good he is, and we're going to see him with that lightweight championship, I feel, for at least a couple more fights. I don't know if anyone's beating him anytime soon. So if Volkanovski comes up and they make that fight happen, that's going to be an interesting one. We'll talk about that in the future. But we got a lot of exciting things coming ahead of us in the MMA world, and I am excited to see it. So, again, if you guys have comments, questions, leave them in the leave them below in the comment section, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So thanks, everyone, for joining us for our first episode of the 10th Planet Daily City podcast. If you guys have anything you guys want us to discuss, let us know, and we will address them accordingly. So take care, everyone. Keep training and stay consistent.